nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
So what we've just done is we've changed out the mods. So now it's got a 30-inch draw, which it had a 28-inch draw before. I don't know if you've seen them before, but this is what the mods look like when you take them out. The difference in the mods is this portion is a lot shorter, nubbier, allows the cam to roll around a little bit farther. So there you go.
Alright, so we need to get a peep in there in the string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the vise, and I'm going to put an arrow in it. Arrows are right there. Right there. Which one? Right here.
Oh, sorry. Like
that works. So I'm going to put an arrow in. I've got my release that I plan to use, and we're going to go ahead and draw this back. What I'm going to have Kenneth do when I draw this back is move the string. That's the separator string that these come with. A bow that doesn't have a peep in it should have a separator string that marks the center of the string. So I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to have him slide that string to about the right place for where my peep is going to go. I'm going to close my eyes, draw this thing back,
he's gonna
close my eyes. I'm going to anchor in, and I'm going to keep my finger off the trigger, obviously. So it's going to have to go up quite a bit.
I was trying to get it there before because I could see already. And when you slide this, make sure you don't pull just one side because it will come out.
And that's still a little bit too far.
Too far?
Yeah, we can come back down a little bit.
Okay, we'll come back down, sir.
Good thing this is an 85%. That's pretty close. So what I'm going to do now, what we're going to do now is put it in the vise, or the press, and we'll go ahead and put a peep in. Can you see what we're doing here?
Yeah, I think so. So what we have, Last Chance Archery Press, I did spend a little bit of money on it, but they work great for Mathews bows because these feet, they sit right into this little notch that Mathews built for us. Thank you, Mathews. Thank you, Easter Bunny.
That's almost to the top of the serving.
That's okay.
Okay, so he's going to go ahead and put a little pressure on that, squeeze it down.
So to put in a peep, you just need a little bit off the main string.
What I've got here, is a Meta Peep, G5 Meta Peep. Meta Peep. So I can't get it out of the package. When I ordered this, I actually intended to order the 3/16. This is the 5/16, which is probably too big. But we'll go ahead and put it in and see how it works. I've never tried using a bigger peep. I've got one that's quarter.
And there's different ways to tie these in so that we can pretty much switch them out fairly easily if it doesn't work. We'll edit out the part where Josh can't get into the package. So, there you go.
There we go. Alright, so I've got the peep here. The peep. You want to make sure you put it in the right way, so when you draw it back, it comes to the right angle.
Production value of this thing has gone like super high.
Okay, so go ahead and separate the string.
Looks like it's going to be exactly the opposite of where you want to be.
Yeah, that doesn't want to separate. I think we need a little A little more squeeze on the press. Yeah, that'll make it easier.
There, it's out.
That's out. That is a giant peep. Like I said, I thought I was buying the 36. I don't even know why they make them that big. Okay.
Yeah, shame on you, Meta Peep.
Okay, go ahead and start letting down on that. The strands are not wanting to find the groove. There we go. Now I'm just making sure that the strands on each side are laying down in the grooves, so the peep is actually going to stay in the string.
So what we've seen before happen is that if you're not careful with this portion and you don't put it in right, there's two things that can happen. Your peep doesn't stay put where it's supposed to, and it can actually cut your string. So
yes.
we've had that happen
I
before.
had to buy a new string because the peep wasn't put in correctly by
The pro shop.
the pro shop. Another reason why we're doing this.
We're not gonna name. So what we did is we actually got it lined up by putting twists in that string. I don't know if that's a good explanation, but oh well.
We ended up having to put a little bit more twist than we originally
Thought we would.
guessed. So we'll go ahead and check the position again.
Back this up a little bit. Like I said, production value is like gone through the roof.
Now you'll notice that I haven't actually set up the limb cable on my SmackDown yet. I'm not going to really worry about it until we are ready to actually tune the bow, because I don't need it to be going up and down. And my experience with the SmackDown and this string is it stretches, and you're going to be moving the rest around and have to retime it anyways. So I'm just going to leave it undone.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. Don't have a sight on there.
Nope.
Sorry.
It's okay. It looked like I got an arrow through the head, probably on video, but I didn't.
Okay, so the peep looks like it's in a decent spot, so we want to tie it in, and or should we throw a sight on it real quick and just double check?
What do you got?
I actually have Fast Eddie, but I gotta go get it. Okay, so got a Fast Eddie XL here, single pin that I actually talk about this right now, I guess. The single pin sight actually comes set up so that you can actually make it a double pin sight. What I did is I ordered off of eBay. I think it was eBay. I got some fiber optic and I threaded it through and made my single pin a double pin sight, if you can see that there.
A little orange, yeah, you can see that in there.
Anyways, we'll go ahead and mount it on the bow. That way I can make sure that our peep is in the right spot. It looked really good looking through it, but we want to make sure that we are indeed in the right spot. So we'll go ahead and mount this up. Actually, it'd probably be easier to just take it off the dovetail.
Just mount the dovetail.
So,
Find myself just staring at the camera.
staring at yourself, making faces. Okay, so
one of the things that I've done before in the past, if it's new hardware right out of the box, like brand new stuff, I like to put a little bit of string wax on the threads. I saw somebody do that online once, I guess. And that's a good tip. What that does is actually helps make sure that you get a good tight fit. Usually helps keep the threads set in the right spot. And also when you go to take and, like we do a lot, we switch stuff off of different bows back and forth. Kind of makes that process easier also.
It's easier on the threads. I've actually had issues with that Hoyt Ultratech when I first got it. Got some threads stripped out and had to retap the threads on it. So over tightening, you don't want to over tighten things. You want it to be snug. There is a fair amount of vibration that these risers will experience, but you don't want to over tighten them because it is aluminum and you can strip things out. So I've got that on there now.
You gonna run that closer?
I'm going to run it closer because I think I'm going to deal with that bigger peep anyways.
Probably true.
Alright, so go ahead and check that. We can do the fast speed, like time lapse type stuff. through
Well,
this
we're probably gonna cut stuff out of this too. This thing's like 1,000,000 years long too. So.
already. Okay, it actually needs to come down.
You want me to, while you're draw?
Yeah, that moves easy. That's pretty close, maybe just a hair more. There we have it, that's good.
Okay. So you saw right there at full draw on a bow that's got 85% let off, which this one does. It's pretty easy to move. Now that the peeps actually, now we gotta probably take the twist out of the string that we put in there. But you saw that it's pretty easy to move that peep while it's at full draw because there's not that much tension on the string at that point. We're gonna fix the string.
Okay, so we've got the peep pretty well straight. We're gonna go ahead and get it tied in. Let's go ahead and set it up here. Maybe you can see it better. Right here.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Okay, so
There's a couple different ways that you can tie in a peep, and this is kind of the quick way, just for time's sake.
I'm gonna throw some sticky wax on.
Yeah, so that's what. Anytime you do any serving and things like that, and this is something I learned from. Like I said, we're trying to give credit where credit's due. There's a YouTube channel called Elk Shape, and there's a pro shop there that he does most of his stuff in, and they actually use natural beeswax for. So anytime you do any type of serving, tying, I recommend you use some wax, some type of wax, whatever you've got. Put that on. That helps set those, helps condition.
Makes it sticky. Actually, so some of the wax out on the market isn't as sticky. This Seal Tight, boning Seal Tight, it actually is very sticky, and I don't know compared to beeswax how sticky it is, but it's pretty sticky. So
We've never used beeswax.
So what we're gonna do here, quick and easy tie in. I'm gonna use half hitches. So I'm gonna take about, that's what, 2.5 feet.
2.5 feet.
And I'm going to take it in half. We're going to take it around the string and through. I don't know if you guys can see that there.
Maybe I'll move a little closer. Sorry. Production value increasing.
There we go. So I've got the string around it. I'm just going to go through here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull that tight and I'm going to work it right up to the bottom part of the peep, and then we're just going to repeat a few times, pulling it tight. And I can feel I can feel the wax that I put on there is actually helping quite a bit. What it's helping me do is when I pull on those knots, it actually locks them in place a lot better than it would without it. That's 4 times.
It usually doesn't, for this application, doesn't need like a ton of them. You don't need a whole lot of serving, just enough to make sure that you got tension above and below where that peep is, so it doesn't slide back and forth, and that it stays put. I've seen peeps get shot out of bows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time I had that happen, or seen that happen, is when I derailed it. That Defiant.
There's another video derailing your Defiant. I like the way it sounds. That sounds pretty awesome.
Derail. Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. So what I've done is I've got that worked up nice and tight, and it's pulling that string together really, really good right there. So I'll go ahead and
Your knife.
and my knife. Go ahead and cut that. I'm going to go ahead and get another. Got the serving string in the jig, so it's harder to get out.
Oh well, doesn't matter, I guess. That serving's a little bit thicker than the one I usually use.
So we're going to go ahead and wax up the string again.
We might have to make this like 2 or maybe even 3 parts. I don't know.
I think we're going to need to. They're probably going to lose interest.
Like these guys in their little shop.
Their homemade bow shop.
Think they got something.
Okay, we're going to do the same thing over again. So, string in half. And like Kenneth was saying before, there are a lot of different ways to do this. And it's really personal preference. I don't have a problem with doing it this way or doing it another way. I'm for whatever works, to be honest with you.
There's different ways that are maybe a little bit more permanent, and I guess we can talk about that. I mean, this way, we already said that this is kind of a large peep. He's kind of setting it up. You can see how he ran his sight a little bit closer. He's got all this dovetail back here to kind of fill up that peep. If he decides that he doesn't want to run his sight that way, or he wants to switch out his peep, it's kind of easier to change your peep if you tie it in this way. And it's, like I said, it works as well as any other way, but there are more permanent ways. If you serve below and you kind of wrap up around the peep and around one side of the peep and down the other side, you've seen it probably done that way in a pro shop, and we can show you how we do it that way too. It's just for this particular setup, this is the way we decided to do it, or Josh decided to do it.
Yeah, so it doesn't quite have as many on it as the other one did, so I'm
One more.
going to throw a couple more on it. The string is working around the other side on me.
Oh, the knot side.
But you can see that we're not experts. I've done this a few times, but it's something that if you have a little inclination and you want to get going on some of this stuff, it's not something that your average person can't do. So
We're pretty average.
yeah, we're pretty average, that's for sure. So what I'm doing is just burning these ends, trying to stay away from my string, just getting them burnt. Alright, that was scary. Okay, usually have it laying down when we do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that peep will stay in. I'll be able to shoot that. I'll problem.
All right, so next step,
What is the next step?
we could actually probably start tuning this thing.
Yep, we're ready to start tuning.
All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna probably cut here and we'll go to the tune. So you see in a lot of videos, well, some of the videos I've seen out there, they set up they get the bow to just about this part without putting all their accessories on and then tune it. What we've found and the things that we've learned is that that's probably not the best way to do it. And the reason why is that when you're tuning, especially paper tuning or bare shaft tuning through paper, the grip pressure makes a big difference about the outcome of what you do. And any accessory that you run on your bow, whether it be a quiver or a stabilizer, can change that grip pressure, change the amount of pressure that's put in that really equals into torque. So anything that you plan on running on your bow to begin with, before we get to the tuning stage, you probably want to put on before you tune it. And that's just advice from us, the things that we've seen. So, I mean, if that's not the way to do it, if there's a better way to do it, let us know. We'd be happy to try it out, test it out, see what happens. And you'll see, proof is in the pudding. Oh, that's a dumb saying. I'll edit that out. You need a little bit smaller size there.
It's a different one.
So that's the thing. Josh was talking about this possibly being one of his hunting setups. So before he gets too into it, after he shoots it for a little while, he'll probably have to retune and make sure it's still tuned if he puts a quiver on, which that's normally what we'd run if we're going to go hunting. Anyway.
Okay. We are about ready to shoot some arrows through this puppy. My favorite. I'm just gonna kind of set this somewhat neutral for now. Set these.
We need a little bit bigger.
I got it right here.
I'll hold that there for you.
All right.
So just snugging these things up so they're not vibrating and wobbling around while we throw a little bit of tune on this thing. We'll see. Say it, don't spray it. Anyway. All right. Can't really see the bottom of that very much, but that's
Here, I'll take it out of the vise and we'll bring it over. It's starting to come together.
starting to look like a shootable bow.
So there we have it, the back bar.
So, all right. Next step is secure that the rest cable, and we're gonna take it and paper tune. I don't know exactly what we're gonna use for our setup because I'm actually using the paper tune to film this with, but we'll get something set up. So like he was saying, these Smackdowns come with like stickers.
They come with this little bracket that you can stick to the bottom of your limb if you want and run the string around the limb to tie your knot. Works fine that way, but we're always changing things around. We're trying to make things different, or we decide we want to run a different setup on a bow. So I found that I like to do it this way better. So what I've got here is a clove hitch, and I've got it tied around there, and this is not tied. It's not perfectly set yet, but I've got it tied tight here, and then I'm going to finish it off. I'm going to finish it off with a couple of half hitches if I have enough room here. And I haven't had any problems with these coming undone, but there is something you have to be aware of when you're running these, is these strings will stretch.
Another thing, so if you're familiar with the limb-driven rests, that Hamskea has a different way. They actually have like a nubbed piece of like 3M tape that you tie it over, and it actually holds it in place fairly decent too. I actually prefer that way.
The AAE has a cable that's got some set screws on it.
So really, if you wanted our honest opinion, it would be a hybrid of the AAE with a smackdown. The AAE cable with a smackdown function. We can talk a little bit more about that if you... I guess we can put out a video on rests if we really wanted to. I don't know. We'll see.
So what I'm going to do now that I've got it tied in at the bottom, let me get the right size here first. Now that I've got it tied in at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this set screw and go ahead and pull the slack out. Pull the slack out of the string. This is always the hard part of these. This is one of the reasons I like these, but I don't like them. This is the reason why. And they're pretty temperamental as far as string stretch. And then when you go to adjust, you got to make sure that you keep it in time. But I will say that I prefer it over a cable driven for the same reasons. It's easier to work with a screw and a string rather than have a serving on your cable that you have to slide up or slide down if you have to change anything. And then you have peace of mind knowing that you're not torquing, you're not putting any torque or unnecessary torque on your cables, possibly causing cam lean when you shoot. But there it is.